Hey everyone, April, also known as T-Bones here. I want to start off by saying that this recording has kicked my butt. I have recorded it now for the fifth time. Turns out I'm not too good at this video stuff quite yet. I'm using Lightworks. I've never used this program before. Pretty much, it went from I accidentally exported a 2 hour and 30-minute long video. My dogs turned off the power switch as it was exporting. I found out I didn't turn on the right microphone. Yada yada yada. So, complaining aside, this is a warm up video that I'm doing to. You think with me doing this 5 times, I already remember what I'm going to say. I'm doing a warm up video because honestly, you should stay in practice when it comes to your figure drawing, no matter what kind of art style you have. It helps keep you in shape. When you're drawing a cartoon, there's only so far you can go by saying, oh, it's my style, before people start looking at you going, like, are you sure it's the style, or you just not know what you're doing? So, to avoid that, I often do figure drawings. I got these 3 headshots off of Pinterest, which I used to not like Pinterest because I thought it was just all about mason jars, but it turns out it has really good photos on it, honestly. So I recommend it highly. Go for it. Just search for stuff and you can make folders like for figure drawings and art inspiration and all kinds of stuff. So I got these 3 headshots. I have 2 Caucasian males and an Asian male at profile, front, and 3/4 view. The profile ones, as you noticed in the beginning of the video, actually kicked my butt pretty hard. It's a weird angle to where it's not quite profile, but it's not 3/4. It's that slight turn to where it makes things awkward. Through this video, I'm going to be telling you not only my process, but what I did wrong, so you can learn from my mistakes as I learn from them. And a lot of these times, these mistakes you're going to notice, you won't notice until you're done doing it. And you're going to look back on it like the next day and you're like, oh, I wish I did this or that, or I should have done this differently, or this doesn't look good at all. And that's okay. It's all about a learning process. You don't have to show anyone. I'm showing you guys so that way we can bond together over my horrible attempts at creating a human face. Human faces, you're always going to hear artists go like, oh man, human faces are so hard. Oh, I hate doing them. And it's because we overthink it. We look at a human face, and since we recognize human faces, since it's part of, like the whole way mentally we look at a human being, we recognize it as a face. But everything else we can look at artistically as this is a value, and this is a line, and this is a shape. So we overthink it more often than not. So we're kind of our worst enemies when it comes to this. So the best thing to do is just look at it for what it is. It's values and shapes. Don't think I'm drawing an eye. Don't think I'm drawing a nose. You're like, this is a cylinder. This is nice and long, has a pointed edge. I have blocks of color to put in, so on and so forth. I also only work on 1 layer. I find that multiple layers hinder me and I feel like I'm too cautious with them. And they're kind of like a crutch in my opinion. For me. For you, if you want to use layers, go for it. I personally like painting on 1 layer because that's just kind of how my art is. If you see my videos, you'll notice that I don't have many layers, and there's a reason for that. It's just I don't like them. That, and it usually slows down my computer, because when I do start doing layers, I get like 100 layers going at a time. On that front view, just real quick, before we move on, I think we moved on to the 3/4 already, but for the front view, I did use the symmetry tool in Autodesk. It helps out to get general placement. Don't rely on it for faces. Faces are not perfectly symmetrical. You make a face perfectly symmetrical, it's going to look weird. So just try to remember that as you're using the symmetry tool. Use it for basic layout, but then go back in, turn it off, and paint an eye with like maybe a little bit of a lazy lid, or maybe the lips are a little crooked, or one's bigger on one side. You'll notice these things as you look. A lot of people aren't perfect. My brother, Milo, does makeup, and I love it because he called me one time, and he's like, I am doing contouring, and I just realized that my nose is crooked. And it's like, oh, okay. So if you ever want to find out what part of your face is crooked, just do makeup. That's what I've been told, at least. All right, anyways, going back to the video. This 3/4 view is of the Asian male. I love this photo. The way his eyes look, like they were really demure, and how he's kind of glancing down, and his lips are beautiful. I have very thin lips. My lips are non-existent. So whenever I see full, thick lips, I'm always like, I need to paint this. Even though I suck at painting lips, but I love thick, full lips. Like, they're gorgeous. So let's talk about what I did wrong in this piece. His face that I've drawn is too long and narrow. He has really beautiful wide cheekbones and a nice squared off face. And if you hear growling in the background, that's my cat. His name's Koopa King, and he's super inbred, but he's my baby and I love him. I didn't inbreed him, by the way. I found him in a box before anyone asks. Okay, back to the drawing. Anyways, his face needs to be wider. I made it too thin and narrow. That's another problem I have. You're going to notice things pop up. If you drew anime, like I did a lot in middle school, you're going to notice that when you start on faces, when you go into figure drawing and everything, your proportions are going to be way off. That's why teachers always say, don't draw anime. And it's not because they don't think it's an art form. It's not because they think anime is stupid. It's because it really messes you up in the long run. Learn the rules because then you can break the rules. That's what my teachers always said. You can be a cartoonist all you like, but you still have to do figure drawing because you need to know how the body works. You need to know where faces like line up and how an arm bends and how the back looks. And then you can go cartoony. Then you can break the rules. You can go for it. You can be Picasso for all I care. But you do need to learn. And so I had a really hard time with faces. I still do because I get this urge to draw big eyes, long, thin noses, and triangular shaped faces. And that's just not how people are. It's not what they look like. And so you'll notice a lot of times in this video, I'm fixing things, constantly fixing things. And it's a work in progress. That's why I do this, because I know I'm not good at it. I choose things specifically that scare the crap out of me, and I go for it, because that's what you have to do. Hi, kitty cat. That's what you have to do. So on this one, his face should have been wider. His cheekbones are gorgeous. I wish I went darker on the values. His ear turned out pretty okay, actually. Ears are weird. Have you ever looked at an ear? Just the way it connects together. It's like, why is it shaped like that? I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't know it. Probably some kind of evolutionary thing. His Adam's apple is kind of weird. Adam's apples are weird. Like, to paint them and draw them, because sometimes someone has one bump, sometimes they have two bumps, sometimes there's like non-existent. Necks are weird in general. But this is why it's good. My problem is I rely too much on, oh, I remember how that looks, and I really don't. Look at your reference. Don't be like me, where I'll start drawing something like, oh, no, I got this, and then I look at my reference like, no, I messed that one up completely. So that's where I was kind of going with the neck. I'm like, I know what a neck looks like. I really don't. No one really knows what it looks like. Just use references. I use references now. I've gotten rid of my hubris, and I will dress up like a total dork, and I will take pictures of myself if it means getting the right pose. So as you notice here, some of you might have pointed out, looking at me like, ooh, look it. His neck's too thin. It's way too thin. And you know why it's too thin? It's because I made his face too thin. And so now it's like messed up. It's kind of like when you're hanging up wallpaper. If you don't get it perfectly straight on the first one, it's just going to mess up the rest, and it's slowly going to get worse and worse and worse as you do it. And I had to do that recently for my sister-in-law. She had a birthday, and I put up wallpaper for her, and it was just awful. Luckily, she put a giant like entertainment system up against it, so you didn't even notice. But the point is when you do something wrong once, it's going to force everything else to look wonky. Another thing that you're going to notice here is I do use that move tool and that transform tool to fix my mistake. Do not be scared to use those. Those are artistic tools. You are allowed to use the tools provided to you. Don't have anyone tell you it's cheating. It's not. They're just jealous because you know how to use it. Now, I am moving on to the profile, not quite so profile. Profile? I don't know. I like his hair. Does anyone else like his hair? I think it's nice. I've noticed a lot of things too, though, on Tumblr. Is you always have really attractive men. Like, they're always like model-esque, and I kind of want, not ugly per se, because I don't think anyone's truly like legitimately ugly. That might be a bit too like, politically correct on my part, but I think from an artistic point of view, everyone's gorgeous. Like, my favorite thing to do is paint, this sounds mean, but overweight people on the bus that I used to take to school were the most fun to draw. I loved it. Like, they just had so much character to them, and so I'd always go on my way to draw them, and so I had a portfolio just full of chubby people everywhere. Anyways, this one messed with me because of the lips. The way the lips are is, like I said, it's not quite profile. So you have a slight view of the other side of the lip, but not quite. So I have to find a way to use just one line of color to make you realize that that's the lip. And that's going to be a hard part. You're going to also notice I'm drawing lines from the corner of the eye to the temple, from like the pupils down. And that's just for placement wise. If you took a figure drawing class or know anything about figure drawing, you realize that the face does have these guidelines that has to follow. Like, your mouth is only as wide as between your two pupils. There's always one eye space between your eyes. What's another one? Your ear is between the corner of your eye and the base of your nose, but keep in mind your face does curve, so you're going to have to draw an angled line, not a straight line. Your nose is halfway down your face, and then your lips are halfway between your nose and your chin. Stuff like that. On this piece here, what I did wrong is his nose looks like Michael Jackson, and it bugs the crap out of me. It's just so petite, and I think what would have worked if I brought that tip of the nose out just a little bit more and pulled that nostril back a little bit further, it would look a lot better. See, what I'm doing here is I'm going straight to lines, and honestly, most of the time, it's not recommended. I need to get back into gesture drawing to get a feel for that again, but gesture drawing is going to help with this because you want to break it down into simple shapes. When you're forced to draw something quickly, you don't have time to focus on details. You have to draw as quick as you can. And so you kind of learn what the body basic shapes are made up of. So I should have done this into basic shapes to get my angles right, to get the looks right, but instead I went straight to line. Next time I think I'll just do basic shapes and I'll show you guys in a video what I mean by this. It's like when you have a low res polygon and you slowly make it more and more high res by adding more polygons. That's kind of the idea behind it. So in this one, his nose is all wrong. I do really like how his eye closest to us in that ear turned out though. And then his lips, I should have pulled back a little bit further and made not so full. Like I made them really duck lips. He's like me, 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 me. But like these are things, as I say, you're gonna notice after you're done, and that's the frustrating part because then you're like, ugh. And you don't have to show these pictures to anyone. You really don't. I'm gonna do it for you guys. I will take that embarrassment because I think we can learn together, kumbaya kind of stuff. And I happen to be a masochist. No, just kidding. But the point is you learn a lot from doing these things. Force yourself to do it every day. I will post videos like this every day so you can see what I do warm up wise. I believe tomorrow I'm going to be doing shoulders and backs mainly because those are something I also have issue with. I want to thank you guys though for listening to me rattle on in these commentaries. Unless you mute me, in which I totally understand. I have a voice of a chickmunk personally. I don't find it pleasing to listen to at all. But I do want to go through more of these warm-ups with you guys along with the major projects that I'm doing. I'm hoping to post a video every day, but don't count on it. I'm a little fickle on that one. Please make sure that you follow me on other social media sites. I do have a lot of updates on there along with the actual images themselves. I have Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr listed at the end card and in the description as well. Thanks again, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day.